Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's dive into today's story of balancing work-life boundaries and a brilliant clapback. Our OP, a dedicated infrastructure and configuration manager who also happens to be a dad and an automation whiz, joins a management meeting on his day off to listen in for potential automation ideas. Things take a surprising turn when Murad, the strict, rule-loving upper manager, decides to crash the meeting, setting the stage for an unforgettable moment. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. When your boss insists on seeing you while on leave. My manager, Sam, is extremely chill and an outstanding leader. His manager, Murad, is a stickler for the rules. I work as infrastructure and configuration manager. I also love automation and automate everyday tasks for myself, my team, and sometimes management as well. Most of management loves it. Murad is not a fan, though. He wants me to focus on my own work, and he loves doing things manually. Story. This is from November 2022. My son had been ill for 2 weeks. He's on the mend, but requires constant monitoring to take his meds and fluids every hour. You cannot expect that discipline from a toddler. I've taken a leave for a week to focus on his recovery. In my absence, Sam has been handling most of my work. I check and reply to mails at the end of the day. I'm not required to do this, and Sam asks me not to, but I do it anyway, just to get ahead of potential issues the project might face due to my absence. At the end of the week, a management meeting is scheduled. Now, only management, team managers, scrum masters, system architects is required for the call, but this type of management meetup is a potential gold mine for automation ideas, so I usually join in. In the previous 3 months, by joining this monthly meeting and taking automation ideas that came out of them, I'd saved the project and management 100 hours of cumulative work weekly. The meeting starts on Friday morning. It's a regional holiday for a lot of people, so most have joined from home. About 20 people have joined. I've joined as well from my home. My son's seated beside me, and I'm teaching him how to play chess. The meeting doesn't really take a lot of focus from me, so my son doesn't mind. He's actually fascinated by most of my work, even though he's too young to understand any of it. Most of my teammates and Sam knows my son, having interacted with him during several calls. Suddenly, Murad joins the call. He's usually never in this call, as he rarely gets along with the agenda or the way the call usually goes. The demeanor's usually pretty casual, people calling each other by names instead of official salutations, people talking in native languages sometimes. Murad, being everyone's boss and having a giant pole up his rear, commands a serious tone from every meeting he's in. However, on this very occasion, it seems he wants to join in on the casual camaraderie. He wants everyone to turn on their cameras. Everyone takes a minute, and the screen starts to light up with everyone's video. It seems most have hastily put on a formal shirt. Sam chimes in asking me to keep my camera off because it's not required. Murad cuts in. The conversation goes like this. Sam, OP, you can keep your camera off. It's not required. Murad, OP's here. Must be to take minutes. He can turn his camera on as well. Me. Actually, I'm on leave today. I joined in case my input's needed for any automation. Murad, that's fine, but please turn on your camera. It would be good for everyone to see everyone else. I turn my camera on. Both my son and I, and the chessboard between us is visible. I'm using a wide-angle camera. My T reads, I work for money. For loyalty, hire a dog. Murad's face was at its widest, and it came to rest after 6 seconds with a reduction rate of 1 MMS. The rest of the conversation goes like this. Murad, OP, that T is not office appropriate. Me, it's quite appropriate for home, though, where I currently am. Murad, you also seem to be playing chess. I would suggest you take your work seriously. Please focus on the matter at hand. Me, you're right, I should focus. Disconnect. In a call later, Sam said that while he explained to Murad that I was on leave at that moment in front of 20 other people, the sound of my disconnection felt surreal. It's 2025. My automations have saved the project 430 hours in the company, 250 hours weekly. Murad never joins that call anymore. What I would give to see the expression on that stick-in-the-mud's face serves him right for being so clueless, out of touch, and simultaneously completely lacking any self-awareness. Not that you have to justify your contributions, but Big Stick Manager should just stay in his lane if he isn't running the meeting or actually contributing. Sounds like middle manager syndrome to me. And our second story. Assume my disability, enjoy the awkward realization. This is kind of a short story, but I think it's worth sharing, and it always cracks me up. My last semester of college, I did an internship as part of my special education degree. The organization I was working for was what's called a sheltered workshop, essentially a place for companies to send product to be processed by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, autism, Down syndrome, etc., at a reduced wage. I actually spent the entire semester researching sheltered workshops and the practice of sub-minimum wage, so it felt like undercover journalism most of the time. The employees, or clients, are monitored and supported by a large staff of barely trained non-disabled employees. I have chronic pain and fatigue, which means that I need to use mobility aids to get around. I alternated between a rolling walker and a manual wheelchair for most of my time there. I was the only non-client with a disability. I also wore a lanyard with my badge on it, which had my name and intern, university name, in big letters. Now, sometimes my lanyard would get turned around so the front couldn't be seen. On many occasions, I would be doing work on my computer or notebook while sitting in a common area, and one of the non-disabled employees would strike up a conversation either with me or with a group including me. Without fail, they would always address me with the same tone and manner they addressed the clients, while speaking perfectly normally to everyone else around. My personal favorite way of handling that was when they would pull the sugar sweet, "And who are you?" "Oh, hi, I'm Name, the intern from university. So nice to meet you. I'm really learning a lot from this experience." The look on their face as it dawns on them that I'm actually an articulate college-educated person still makes me laugh to this day. It's like you can see the gears turn and the foot get shoved in their mouth. Lesson to be learned: don't treat disabled people like children. And never assume someone using a wheelchair is by default also intellectually disabled. What's wild is how ingrained these assumptions are, that anyone using mobility aids must also need infantilizing tones or treatment. It's a glaring example of how people equate visible disabilities with intellectual ones, and your story nails the absurdity of that mindset. And our last story. The Porsche that was stolen by the HOA. I have a story about a great friend of mine that was told to me recently. A funny story about Michael, his favorite Porsche, and Karen's evil master plan. Michael was a fantastic doctor, kind, compassionate, and maybe a little absent-minded. Before he headed off to Africa for an 8-month humanitarian mission, he parked his 1988 Porsche 911 Turbo outside his house. This rare and pricey car was a special inheritance from his dad, and Michael cherished it more than his own stethoscope. While Michael was busy handing out medicine and treating kids somewhere deep in the African savannah, his neighborhood back home underwent a major shakeup. The local homeowners association got a new president, a woman named Karen, known for her unyielding glare and her obsessive need to nitpick every weed on every lawn. The minute Karen noticed that Michael's Porsche hadn't budged for 3 months, understandable considering the owner was on another continent, she went into punish mode. She called up a tow company owned by her son-in-law, a pretty convenient family connection, right? And demanded the car be hauled off to the impound lot right away. "Get rid of that rusty old junk," Karen barked, even though everyone in the neighborhood knew this junk was worth a couple $100,000. More time passed, and Michael's mom stopped by to water the plants and check on the house. At first, she didn't notice anything amiss until she spotted the empty space under the car cover and found a letter from the HOA. Realizing the Porsche was missing, she freaked out and stormed over to Karen's office. Michael's mom, bursting into the HOA office, "Where's my son's car? It was parked right here at the house." Karen, sipping coffee like a queen, "Oh, that thing? We had it towed, and I believe it's already been sold at auction. Rules are rules." Michael's mom, horrified, "That was my husband's legacy to our son. He's away on a charity mission. How could you?" Karen, shrugging, "At least we got rid of that abandoned eyesore. If your son doesn't like it, he can sue. Ha ha." When the news reached Michael, he almost dropped his phone right into his bowl of rice. "Sold? You've got to be kidding me," he shouted into the phone, but he was halfway across the globe and could only fume from afar. For the rest of his mission, he fired off massive emails to his lawyer and muttered under his breath, "Just wait till I get back. I'm not letting this slide." The moment Michael returned, he launched a full-blown detective/legal operation. He hired an attorney, rounded up documents, questioned witnesses, and took photos of the empty parking spot. In court, Karen insisted she had done everything by the book, but once the judge saw the proof of the family-affiliated tow company and personal money transfers to Karen's husband, he squinted and said, "Well, ma'am, it looks like you've been scamming everyone here." Long story short, Karen and her husband had to cough up compensation and pay all of Michael's legal fees. People practically carried Michael out of the courtroom on their shoulders. Well, figuratively speaking. Luckily, Michael tracked down the buyer of his Porsche, a collector who didn't want to profit off someone else's misfortune. The guy agreed to return the 911 for the exact amount he'd paid at auction. Even though Michael spent a ton of time, money, and stress getting it back, he was over the moon when he finally hugged his vintage 911, whispering, "Sorry, buddy, I shouldn't have left you for Karen to mess with." In the end, it turned out Karen and her husband had been running similar scams for a while, towing neighbors' cars on bogus charges and lining their own pockets. But Michael ruined their racket. Karen was forced to step down as HOA president, and her husband lost his sweet contracts. Ever since then, the neighborhood's been way calmer, with more friendly smiles and fewer drama fests. Michael, having restored his prized Porsche and touching up a few scuffs from the tow, now cruises around town listening to that legendary engine rumble. And if he spots anyone getting harassed unfairly, he's always ready to step in and remind everyone that a true Porsche 911 Turbo owner never backs down. First of all, Karen's audacity to declare a literal vintage 1988 Porsche 911 Turbo an eyesore is the height of Karen's energy. And the twist that she and her husband were running a shady side business with their family towing company? Just awesome. They actually thought they could bully everyone, including the doctor, and get away with it. What a shame. No. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.